to the arena now. We'll keep talking about the form because we have to go back to 1981 in a World Cup game to find the last time New Zealand beat Australia on Australian soil. Now that must make us red-hot favourites today.
Yeah, the wedge has been driven between the two countries in footballing terms over the last decade and a bit. That certainly was the last time they had any joy against us, and we've seemed to go from power to power. But the New Zealanders are on their way back. They've got a number of players playing in Europe now, and well over half their team playing in our local Ericsson Cup competition. And on that basis, given that the Socceroos are also locally based, it should be a very keen encounter today.
Yeah, it's a bit of a curiosity, Andy, because what's occurring is that the New Zealand team are in fact all overseas-based players. The Australians, for once, we're relying on local-based players. Usually it's the other way around in games between Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, certainly so. And the form leading into to this final today, the Kiwis have been a little bit stottery, and they've struggled against some of the lesser nations. But I'm sure all that will go out the window as they come against their arch rivals in world sport, and certainly in football terms, the soccer today.
Andy, we will just take the few pictures here as the dignitaries, led by Charlie Dempsey, the president of the Oceania Confederation, is introduced to the players. But let's talk about the form here. The semi-finals on Friday night, we saw Australia having to labour a little bit over Tahiti, winning 4-1. The Kiwis, in a very physical battle, overcame Fiji 1-0. So neither team really, of the winning semi-finalists, neither team really put their hand up to say that they are in form.
No, I think realistically, from Australia's point of view, Damien Murray can raise his hand and say he really, it was on the back of him that Australia got into the final. He scored 3 hat-tricks on the trot in this tournament and been going very, very well indeed. The Kiwis have struggled, as I said. They only beat Tahiti 1-0, and that was an own goal. They beat Fiji in the semi-final 1-0 to a very late goal, and they've really struggled to hit their straps. But I'm sure they'll go well today against the Australian side. And the Australians in their semi-final against Tahiti, Tahiti were most impressive. They had 3 midfielders who are exceptional talents, and they really gave us some grief in the centre of midfield on Friday night. But again, Damien Murray rose to the fore and stuck 3 away.
OK, Andy, we will now take the national anthems of Australia and New Zealand. You are watching, if you just joined us, the final of the Oceania Nations Cup about to get underway. After the anthems, we'll pick up our commentators Paul Williams and Johnny Warren.
Well, Suncorp Stadium is bathed in glorious Queensland sunshine, which is marvellous for the spectators, but very tough, you would suspect, on two sets of players that are still fairly much in pre-season training. Welcome, everybody, in particular to viewers from South Australia, New South Wales and the ACT who've interrupted your long weekend for a couple of hours to check on the fortunes of the national team. It certainly won't be a holiday on the park. The financial stakes are extremely high indeed for both sets of players, and any trans-Tasman clash is high-spirited as we check on the starting 11. Australia first, and Raul Blanco has Casey Weirman and Simon Colosimo fit again after both missed the semi-final. The two Olyroos are drafted straight into the 11. Colosimo will play a sweeper and Weirman in midfield. Goran Lozanovsky's attacking thrust has him preferred to Rob Trajkovski on the right-hand flank, providing crosses for the prolific striker Damien Murray, who's already bagged 10 goals in the tournament. Alex Tobin creates a new record for Australian appearances every time he plays. This is outing number 84 for him, and he's partnered by Mark Babbage in the centre of the Australian defence.
Oh, grandstand.
Well, the election in Australia had everybody voting yesterday, but certainly the supporters up here in Brisbane haven't been voting with their feet by coming along to the games. It's another sparse crowd here at the Oceania Nations Cup, and he's a familiar face to Australian football fans. Gavin Wilkinson, the number 6 for New Zealand, and they also bring back Carlton defender Sean Douglas into the defence in place of Shea Bunce. Otherwise, it's the same 11 that beat Fiji in the semi-finals. On the left of midfield, Aaron Lyons and Mark Burton play their football in Germany, but defensively it's the Perth Glory players Wilkinson and Danny Hay who will be trying to contain Murray. Vaughan Coveney of South Melbourne will lead the attack. He's got 4 goals in the tournament so far. Well, the All Whites have virtually an overseas-based 11 these days, and the referee for this afternoon's game is from Tahiti. Mr. Massimo Raveno is in charge of the game. Of course, no Australian or New Zealand referee could be in charge of this game, and it's New Zealand that will kick off. They're, of course, in their all-familiar all-white strip. Australia in the yellow shirts and the black shorts. The shadow is slowly creeping across the Suncorp turf. I predict about 20 minutes into the game, the entire pitch will be bathed in shade, which will be of some relief to the players. And it really is a sign of the times in the region of Oceania. New Zealand's team is totally based with overseas players. Over half of them playing in Australia, the rest playing in other parts of the world, many of them in Europe. The Australians' 11 is a domestic-based 11, of course. But still in Europe, none of the New Zealanders have really cracked the big time playing for a major club. So Australia come into the game as warmish favourites. They haven't lost at home to New Zealand since 1981 in the World Cup qualifiers. And with me, of course, is Johnny Warren. And John, we can always expect, no matter what the circumstances or the 11s, a combative match between Australia and New Zealand.
Yes, particularly today. I mean, you have the financial aspect. Neither New Zealand or Australia, this part of the world, play for such high stakes. And the other important thing, too, is should they qualify for the Confederations Cup, they get that excellent world-class opposition against the likes of Brazil, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, France, Bolivia and USA. But important, more so one would think, for Australia to qualify today. All locally based players, but significantly quite a lot of our Olyroos players there, including Weirman on the ball there, and Colosimo also on the ball now.
Simon Colosimo missed the semi-final. He had a virus that just wasn't quite prepared to be risked by the coach, Raul Blanco. But as soon as he was fit again, he was straight back into the side. Fausto Diamichis made way for him. It's Checkerley, wide on the left for Australia. Made his debut for Australia in this Oceania Nations Cup tournament. He's played in every game since, even managed to notch his first international goal as well in the 16-0 thrashing of the Cook Islands. Jason Batty on the ball, the goalkeeper, highly rated goalkeeper as well for New Zealand. Been playing his football in Ireland with Bohemians in recent times, though there is talk that he could be moving on from there shortly. Jackson in hard for New Zealand. Ball just going over the line before Checkerley could get there. Throw into the All Whites. Jackson back to Wilkinson, to his Perth Glory teammate Danny Hay. It's an all-Australian back four for the Kiwis. All-Australian base, I should say. There's Sean Douglas, who plays with Carlton in Melbourne. Wilkinson. Nata chasing, but he's fouled by Alex Tobin. The Australian captain is not too happy with the decision. 84 times now Alex Tobin has played for his country, a record overtaking Paul Wade's record of 82 earlier on in the tournament. But no intentions of looking to end his career too, Alex Tobin. He's quite happy to keep playing as long as he's picked. Free kick to New Zealand. The back post is Hay, climbing above his man, who was Alex Tobin, but he couldn't get behind the ball and direct it back across the goal. Danny Hay, who's a giant in defence, and his height causes problems in attack as well, as you can see. Trimboli over the ball, looking to move the ball quickly. Weirman over the ball now, he takes it, the Brisbane Strikers midfielder. Burton takes over for New Zealand. Outside him is Aaron Lyons, the two German-based players.
Harry, I can't hit you if you run away.
Lyons again. Knocked on by Atkinson. Well, Australia in this tournament have scored a goal within the first 2 minutes in every single game. We're on to the 5th minute now, so really the Kiwis have done better than any of the other sides to hold Australia. Helping it on to Mark Babbage forward from the back. Lozanovsky, his first look at the ball. Preferred today to Rob Trajkovski. Space for Checkerley on the left. Murray's waiting in the centre, as is Trimboli. It's a deep cross, too deep, by Alvin Checkerley of Wollongong. Johnny, 5 minutes gone. It's hard to, I guess, summarise too much in the opening few minutes as both teams sort themselves out, but what have you seen so far?
New Zealand are going to make, at worst, they're going to make life very difficult for Australia. Well organised behind the ball. There are no secrets, as you said. The back four all from New Zealand all play in Australia, so they know how the Aussie boys play. From Australia's perspective, I mean, the ball just has to be switched and played wide all the time. New Zealand are very well organised. They've done their homework. They've got the marker on Lozanovsky, who is a very key attacking component for Australia. But what they're doing there now of switching it direction and playing it wide is the type of thing that Australia has to do.
Weirman fouled there by his Brisbane Strikers teammate Chris Zoricic, and he'll be the first name to go into the referee's book. The right fullback for New Zealand. The two local teammates there, and you can see that tackle on Zoricic on Weirman, who's had so many ankle problems in the last year and a half. It's a sort of tackle that you just fear the worst for the young player. Trimboli, great cross. Oh, there was a man coming in there, and Brad Maloney. Lozanovsky still there, and his cross is way too big. But just getting back to Casey Weirman, he missed the entire last season because of that ankle problem, and he still walks with a slight limp even today. But he claims the injury is no problem anymore. Certainly when he runs, you don't notice the problems that he has. He's made a fantastic comeback to come all the way to the national team. Alex Tobin again, guilty of fouling his man. Harry Nata and Vaughan Coveney up front for the New Zealanders. Nata has played in New Zealand before, earlier on in the 90s with Brunswick Juventus. And Vaughan Coveney will be familiar to every Australian defender. Flipped over the top. Away by Colosimo. Nata's underneath it. So is Tobin, the far taller opponent. Jackson spraying it out wide. And the shot comes in. Good shot as well. Right through a number of players to Jason Petkovic, who went down on the ball. And he held it closely to his chest. The first shot of the match, and it goes to the New Zealand side. Lozanowski for Australia. Back to Mark Babbage. Murray turning away, prepared to run at the defence. Can they keep up with him? That's the question. He's lightning fast, and the man coming across there was Lyons. And the ball's gone out for a goal kick. Damien Murray, who has this hat-trick of hat-tricks, with 10 goals in the last 3 games. And there hasn't been a game that he has failed to score within the first 8 minutes in the tournament. We're now into the 10th minute of the game. So Murray so far has been checked as well. Halpin, little ball to help it on to Maloney. Down the line looking for Trimboli, straight to Danny Hay. Nata. Oh, Weirman jumped into the tackle somewhat, but won the ball cleanly. Certainly the feeling amongst the New Zealand side is that they quite fancy their chances of providing an upset here. Ken Dugdale, the New Zealand coach, feels that Australia tired quite significantly in both their matches against Fiji and Tahiti. So he's looking to do something, particularly in the latter stages of the second half.
Well, it's a big problem for Australia, isn't it? They are in pre-season mode. Half the New Zealand team also, the boys that play here, of course, are in the same situation. But New Zealand do have the advantage with so many of their boys playing overseas that they are match fit. Australia have, the league doesn't kick off, as we all know, till next weekend. They are in pre-season mode and have improved slightly with each outing for me. But at the moment, they haven't got a grip of the game. If anything, you'd give it to New Zealand slightly at this stage, that they have dominated proceedings. They're using the ball well. It's not the old New Zealand, which was a little bit more direct, a little bit more physical. They are trying to play the modern type of football, and so far have had the better of the game.
Colosimo dominating in the air at the back. And the free kick won't be allowed to be taken from there. I don't think. It was about 15 metres ahead of where the offence.
It's the other way. It's the other way as well.
And it's the other way as well, so. Jackson over the ball. Takes a short free kick for New Zealand, who've got plenty of men forward for this attack. Here's Burton, who has probably been their most outstanding player in the tournament to date. As you take another look at the free kick here, and been just a little bit late look there, but that free kick went to New Zealand when it appeared that Wilkinson had pushed Trimboli in the back. Zoricic to take the throw. Plenty of height forward for New Zealand. Danny Hay is there, but Petkovic plucks it out of the air with the greatest of ease.
It's a danger area for Australia, isn't it? To the likes of Wilkinson, Hay, Douglas, the set pieces, the corner kicks, the throw-ins like that. And Australia handle that one very well, but you do sense that that could be an area where Australia could be up against it this afternoon.
New Zealand bench there. Glenn Gwynn in the centre. Trajanovski just next to him as the ball comes in. Another easy one for Jason Petkovic. He moves the ball on quickly to Chekali. Laney's inside him. Chekali goes long looking for Damien Murray. But that's the sort of ball that will be a welcome sight indeed to the New Zealand coaches and to the New Zealand defenders. Very easy for Danny Hay in the air.
Hold him in the corner. Let's do it. Drive.
Colosimo, long. Murray, well, he's able to shake off his man. It's a great ball by Damien Murray. Here's Trimboli through the middle. Paul Trimboli. Well, it only just missed the goal after Damien Murray made light of a ball that was never really his. It was one of those hopeful long balls forward that favoured the defence, but Murray shrugged off his man and fed Trimboli perfectly. And the tackle came in just at the end to put Trimboli off, and we'll see here from this angle just how close it was. Well, the tackle did enough, as did the oncoming frame of Jason Batty. And the best chance of the game went to Paul Trimboli, and he put it past the post. Just under 14 minutes gone here at Suncorp. Australia 0, New Zealand 0 if you've just joined us. Rob Blanco was the coach of the Australian side when the last Confederations Cup was played. A window of 2 games in between Eddie Thompson's reign and Terry Venable's reign, and Blanco coached Australia to a 5-0 and a 6-0 win against Tahiti in the final of the Oceania Nations Cup back in 1996. He's taken charge of the team again here for this particular tournament, so it augurs well for Australia that he is in charge. One interesting comment, John, to come out of the New Zealand camp during the week was the fact that they have given up the physical approach on the game. They normally come into these games prepared to really attack the Australians with a physical approach to the game as their best chance of upsetting the Aussies, but they appear to have given that away.
Well, it might have got results against Australia because of that great rivalry, if you like, playing that way, but it doesn't give them any chance of advancing further in world football. I think it's good to see them trying to play the modern game, and with due respects at this stage, they have played slightly better for me than Australia. They're dominating the middle of the park. Australia is not in it at all. We haven't been able to get the likes of Lozanovski and Chikoli involved, and Halpin normally has a better grip on midfield, and so far that area is dominated by New Zealand.
Good free kick, straight past the wall, and Petkovic watched it all the way. Certainly had plenty of sting in the shot. And for the second time in the game, Zoricic has fired one in on Petkovic that's required a good save. So hot, in fact, that Petkovic couldn't hold it. It's a corner to New Zealand. Petkovic waiting to come off his line. He stays there. Hayes at the back post again. It's not a clever approach, if you like, but it's certainly a difficult one to defend against. Big Ben at the back post coming in late. Any Tapai there in the centre. Not available today because of injury. That's a blow to Australia. Rob Blanco was actually hoping that Tapai would be available in the semi-final, and he named him in the team when Australia were due to play Tahiti, but last minute they had to withdraw him, and he's still not right, as you can see. Babbage kicking the ball off lines. It's an Aussie throw. Australia have scored 23 goals in the tournament so far, but they've also conceded 2. It's a couple of blemishes in the Australian defence, which has again given the New Zealanders hope of causing an upset here. Certainly in the semi-final against Tahiti, the Tahitians for a significant chunk of the second half had enough of the ball to cause Australia some real problems. Babbage on the ball. Too high for Trimboli, but it might favour Maloney, who was working forward from midfield. Nata hopped on by Jackson straight to Simon Colosimo, whose positioning was quite perfect, and Trimboli was pushed in the back there by the big defender. Well, Blanco started to get just a little bit animated as we're 18 minutes into the game, and Australia have only got one chance to show for their efforts so far. Colosimo forward. Murray just keeping the ball in. No one in the centre yet for Australia, though. Halpin and Trimboli working their way in. Good ball across. No one in the centre of the goal. We had Trimboli at the near post and Halpin deep at the far post. All the Australian players, as we mentioned earlier, play in the National Soccer League, though 3 of them have returned from overseas. Carl Veert has returned back to Adelaide City this season. Damien Murray, of course, had a season in Germany, and Ernie Tapai had several seasons in Europe. So the Australian 11 not without some experience of Europe. And Doug Dale, the Kiwi coach. Chekali with the throw. Trimboli comes short. Chekali forward to Murray, who's been tugged down there. Gavin Wilkinson was the man who was marking him, and just a bit of a comment from Murray to Wilkinson there with a smile. You just wonder how friendly it is. They obviously would know each other. Not sure how well they would be acquainted, but certainly the distance that Wilkinson is keeping to Murray in this game, they'll be very well acquainted after the 90 minutes is up. Tobin's forward for Australia. Babbage at the far post. Chance for Australia to apply their own pressure. Good ball in, well won in defence too by Douglas. And Hay completes the clearance. Casey Wehrman for Australia. Little ball over the top. Wilkinson's there. Here's Brad Maloney. And the ball given away. Chekali forward, helping it on quickly to Wehrman. 3 yellow shirts in the centre to the near post, and Batty came out and he dropped it. Trimboli was trying to pick up some crumbs. Anticipated the bounce in front of the goalkeeper, just making it a little bit difficult for Jason Batty to gather the ball. Australia starting to just fire a little bit better now. Certainly more of the game being played in New Zealand's half. Murray. Wehrman holding off his man well. Prepared to take on his man in a tight spot as well, and that's what the applause came for from the local hero. Just running it over the line though. Australia, John, slowly getting more involved in the game, but still no sign of Troy Halpin yet. No, well, one of the reasons for that is that Burton, the number 7, it's a complete man-to-man marking job on him. Halpin, of course, the playmaker out of the middle, and Australia are missing his contribution at this stage. Aaron Lyons for New Zealand, plays for Osnabrück in Germany. Well, as we've already mentioned, the winner of this match here will go on to play in the Confederations Cup in Mexico next January. Australia have already had one appearance in that tournament back in December of last year, and they performed superbly to reach the final before losing the game 6-0 to Brazil after Mark Viduka got sent off very early on in the match. So, players have had a taste for that particular tournament. Certainly it's a real opportunity to showcase your talents in front of the world. Trimboli, little layoff to Weirman, touched on to Halpin. Back to Weirman. Trimboli, Chekali's going outside him, turns back to Troy Halpin. Maloney will get there. Lozanovsky's waiting in support. Maloney turns, good cross from Brad Maloney. Well, certainly there's a distinct height advantage to the Kiwi defenders over Damien Murray and Paul Trimboli, though both are very adept in the air. It's a mistake by Colosimo. Coveney running at Tobin, only one to beat now, and it's a through ball there. Chance for New Zealand here, and a goal to New Zealand. The All Whites have taken the lead. A surging run through the centre by Mark Burton. It was a mistake by Simon Colosimo. Coveney latched onto it, played the ball across to Burton, who placed it with some real power as well past Jason Petkovic. A very well taken goal. Just when Australia appeared to be getting back into the game, John, they go a goal down.
Still, I mean, to be fair, you can't begrudge New Zealand the lead. I've felt that they've known a lot more what they're about, what we've seen so far today, than Australia. They're better organised. They seem to have a more definite plan. Australia really haven't been able to play the ball out from the back. They haven't been able to get any width about their attacks either side of the pitch. And the mistake was penalised. Burton, who's had a big game for me so far, he's picking up Halpin, as I said, cutting him out of the game and then contributing with that goal. He's a very key player for New Zealand so far in this match.
Well, all of a sudden, Ken Dugdale and his side have now got something to hang on to in the game. It's Australia who must very much take the game to the Kiwis now. There's plenty of time left in the match. Well over an hour to go. It's just a little bit more pressure on the Socceroos now to produce more from an attacking sense.
Well, the disturbing thing, and it would be for Raul as well, is that we've only had really created the one chance. And it's come from a dominance across the middle, that middle five of the park, where we've seen very little of the Aussies and heaps of New Zealand. Burton again on the ball here, is having, as I mentioned earlier, having a big game and exerting a lot of influence and cutting Australia out in that very important department.
That's a very nice switch of play too to Aaron Lyons, who's into the penalty area. Lyons across. Nata was making his way into the centre, but just couldn't get to the ball across by Aaron Lyons. But where was his marker? Lyons totally free. Lozanovsky arriving very late indeed, and the Kiwis could have been two up there. And that would be a mountain for New Zealand to climb. Australia, rather. Chekali to take the throw. One in the air by Coveney. Coveney takes over again. on by Atkinson down the line for Harry Nata, but it's run through to the goalkeeper. Jason Petkovic, who made his debut against New Zealand back in 1995. Lozanovsky touched inside, held back there, pulled back by Aaron Lyons. A blatant intentional foul, which could see him with a yellow card. It does. It was nice play by Lozanovsky, just eluding his marker with a little touch, but he couldn't continue his run because he was impeded. An easy high ball again for Douglas. Weeman on the ball for Australia, switching it nicely. There's Maloney in some space with Chickley outside him. Alvin Chickley, the Wollongong Wolves midfielder. Oh, that would have hurt, as you can hear by the crowd. It was Zoricic who got the ball right in the painful part of the body. And he's gone in there as a bit of retribution perhaps there on Alvin Chickley. The tackle from behind, and Zoricic will have to watch himself. Already been involved in a couple of tackles and already on a yellow card. Bad foul, that one on Chickley. Touched on, Murray lost sight of the ball for a moment. I guess one talking point, John, given that the season's just about to start in Australia, could be how the laws of the game that were changed in the World Cup in France in '98 will be adapted to local competitions around the world. We've seen a couple of tackles from behind today already that maybe in the World Cup would have seen a more severe penalty.
Well, it's supposed to be sent off. The last one by Zoricic was a send-off, wasn't it? The tackle from behind. Let's hope they do, because the purpose is correct one. It does encourage the attacking play. It does prevent the injury to the player. The player doesn't expect the tackle from behind, and let's hope it does so. But on what we've seen in the game here so far, and one must say early in the tournament, there really hasn't been the anticipated clampdown on that very dangerous tackle from behind.
Weirman, intelligent ball for Damien Murray. Well tackled though by Wilkinson, not only to win the ball but to win the throw as well. Now Weirman in on Jackson. A yellow card, the first of the game, to an Australian player. The Tahitian referee handing out a few in the last 2 or 3 minutes. And Jackson, who came into the game with a badly injured left ankle, he hobbled off against Fiji in the semi-final and hasn't trained since. He's been up both nights apparently icing it, and his coach Ken Dugdale was more concerned about his lack of sleep than his bad ankle. Such was the keenness of Jackson to take part in the game. Jackson will go off for some treatment. Sean Douglas for the Kiwis. Back to Hay. Nata. It was touched on to Lyons, causing problems again down the left, but Colosimo read the bounce perfectly. Lyons just keeps the ball in. Now it goes out. It's a good battle down this near side with Lozanovsky and Aaron Lyons, both similar types of players. Both love to get forward, both good crosses of the ball.
And it's an indication of the balance of the game that Lyons has had the better of that duel. It's needless to say, for Australia, we need Lozanovsky getting forward, getting in those great crosses, but Lyons has limited him so far. And in that one-on-one battle, not only because of that one-on-one, but the fact that New Zealand are dominating out of midfield, and they are playing the ball. They're building their attack up a lot better than Australia, is the reasons that he's on top of Lozanovsky at this stage.
Trimboli, Halpin involved. This is better from Australia. Murray touching it off. Weirman turning away. 3 men on the left-hand side. Chekali free. Best move of the game for Australia so far until the final ball came in from Alvin Chekali. But certainly the little interchange there between Halpin and Trimboli.
So we're on about earlier, Paul, about switching the direction of the attack and getting it wide. And, of course, what's letting Australia down when they've got in the few occasions they've got in this position so far has been the poor final cross. It goes without saying it has to be much better than that. And Australia have had 5 or 6 of those situations which they really, a goal behind, can't afford to waste. Well, the disturbing thing, I would think, for Raul Blanco at half-time would be that the team hasn't been able to build from the back. There's been too many long balls which, without intent, if you like. It's all right to pass the ball long if you find your teammate, but Australia have been playing it a little bit too often for me, deep, long out of their defence, losing possession and then having to win the ball back again.
Casey Weirman, the culprit there, but just before that he showed his willingness to go past players, a real asset of his. So good at just gliding past players and taking the ball into attacking positions. And Burton not too bad at that either, and he's put Aaron Lyons in down the left, and it's a easy cross for Petkovic. Nata was working his way in, and Petkovic would have had one eye on him. 34 minutes gone here at Suncorp. Australia 0, New Zealand 1. Mark Burton, the goal scorer. Alvin Chekali, the first player from Wollongong to play for Australia since Steve O'Connor. It's a great honour for the Wollongong club, and they also had Matt Horsley on the standby list as well as Scott Chipperfield in the squad. So heady days for the Wollongong Wolves. Lines forward. Nata got there just before him, but New Zealand keep the ball. More importantly, Wilkinson. Look at the space for Jackson. Certainly it's some composed football that we're seeing from New Zealand. Nata. Chekali got there first. Trimboli now. Turning inside. Weirman wasn't really expecting it, but he's kept it. Trimboli. Halpin. Lozanovsky's free on the right-hand side, but the ball won't get there. Australia get to throw. You can look at the New Zealand coach just to work out what the decision was. Murray, who's been very well checked so far by Wilkinson, who's gone everywhere that Murray has gone. Colosimo. Halpin touched on. Murray again had a lot to do to get to the ball and win it, but he's managed to do that. Burton, sharp turn. Weirman just shrugged him aside. Still Weirman. Nowhere really for him to go. Halpin was joining him very quickly. Just couldn't get the ball to him. Nata laying it off. Oh, Weirman won the ball back again in midfield. Tremendous performance this from Casey Weirman. He attacks and defends. And then defends once again. Checkerley now for Australia. Murray at the near post! Well, that is the danger of Damien Murray. A fairly innocuous-looking ball into the area from Albert Checkerley. But Murray is just a master at making something out of nothing. Well, looked like it came off a defender with the replay. Just over 7 minutes to go till the half-time break, and Australia have a lot to establish at half-time with the coaching staff. It's a good shot as well, and Petkovic called into action, not for the first time in the game, to save from long range. And Chris Jackson there let one go from all of 25 metres off the left foot. A lot of room to line one up, and it was going in, and Petkovic was at full stretch to turn the ball wide. Wins it in the air, but he's fouled. A bit of urgency starting to show on the faces of the Australian captain, Alex Tobin, wanting to move the ball quickly. Maloney, Weirman, who's been with the pick of the bunch for Australia in the first half. Wilkinson again tangling with Murray and getting the better of him. And Murray both can deal with the physical side of the game if required. Burton for New Zealand. Surrounded by Australians, but he does well to get past two of them, but not the third in Simon Colosimo. He's improved a lot, hasn't he, John, Mark Burton? We saw him first with the Olympic side for New Zealand a couple of years ago in Adelaide, and he wasn't quite the finished product there, but he's getting closer.
Well, the European experience, obviously, but it's probably the best player on the field at this stage, I would think. Dominating out of the middle of the park. It's important for Australia. Weirman continues to have a bigger influence out of midfield. With helping out of it a little bit, Australia need Weirman to take a little bit of control out of the middle of the park.
Wilkinson chases. And for once, he has a defender right behind him. So he knows how it feels now for Damien Murray. Wilkinson to take the throw. New Zealand in control of the game with that one goal by Burton. It's the New Zealand bench, or part of it anyway. And the ball's lost. Here's Wilkinson. Well, it was there to be hit. Came out very nicely for him onto his right foot. It was certainly worth a go. Wilkinson has scored the odd goal in the Ericsson Cup for Perth Glory. Trimboli helping it on. Clever idea by Trimboli. Certainly would have caught the defence out, but just a little bit overhit. Freeman underneath it, beaten by Jackson in the air. Atkinson helps it on. Well, certainly Australia has by far the better record against the New Zealanders. They've beaten them 33 times, while there have been just 10 victories for the Kiwis. 13 draws. Australia outscoring New Zealand 136-65. But not so far today. And New Zealand going through again. Ball goes back to Petkovic. But again, just a few signs of hesitancy in the Australian defence, which will give the Kiwis more encouragement. Burton, once again, at the heart of the good things about New Zealand when they do come forward. Burton. Jackson, Nata. Jackson. Free is Atkinson. Tries the shot, and Coveney picks it up and does well, holding it all up. Coveney, here's Burton again. Halpin clearing the ball for Australia. Murray trying to get on the end of it. For once, just shaking off Wilkinson. And looking to the referee there for a free kick, Daniel Murray, and I'm not sure that he didn't have a good case for it, as Wilkinson just obstructed him as he ran onto the ball. Douglas right into the back of Paul Trimboli, the Australian number 10. Well, Australia need his cunning and his experience now. Lozanovsky over the ball. Two men in the New Zealand wall. Trimboli drags one away to make it one. That's too big. And another wasted opportunity. Again, Dugdale looking fairly happy with the things. I'm not surprised either. It's 1 minute to go before half-time, and his side leads Australia by a goal to nil. It's a long time since New Zealand have been ahead of Australia in a full international. Mata was being fouled there by Babic. Two in the wall. Fairly straightforward save for Petkovic, who just lets it go past his post. A shot coming in from Lyons.
And a lot for Australia to do at half-time. Raul Blanco and Les Shines are going to have their work cut out, because Australia have been behind. This 1-0 lead to New Zealand, to me, is a fair reflection on the game. They've been better in all departments. They have created more opportunities and deserved to lead. Australia, for their part, not enough cohesion. The middle of the park, we've been outplayed across the middle five, if we could put it that way. We've had very little action of players getting forward, creating opportunities for Murray or Trimboli, and the real lack of playing the ball out at the back. So a lot of work for Australia to do in the second half. New Zealand, for me anyhow, deservedly ahead by 1 goal as we come up to half-time.
Some stern words then required by Raul Blanco and Les Scheinflug at the break. Perhaps some substitutions. A good cross in from Chekali this time, though. It's a loose ball in there. Atkinson wins it. Chekali, Weirman. No way through for him there. And no way for Australia to break through either before the half-time whistle goes here. Certainly New Zealand's half, their football has been the more composed and more cultured. Australia struggling really to get a grip in the centre of midfield, though Casey Weirman came more and more into the game as the half wore on, and that can only be good for the Socceroos. It was Mark Burton who scored the only goal of the game for the All Whites. And at half-time here at Suncorp, Australia 0.
We can now pick up the second half action. Remember, this is the final of the Oceania Nations Cup. Prestige at stake, a lot of money at stake. Let's go back to our commentators with New Zealand leading Australia 1-0, our commentators Paul Williams and Johnny Warren.
Yes, thank you, Kyle. Welcome back, everybody. And the news is that Scott Chipperfield has come on for Australia. Just trying to work out now, it looks like Goran Lozanovsky has made way. So Chipperfield will come on the left-hand side of midfield for the Socceroos. It looks like Brad Maloney has moved over to the right flank in place of Lozanovsky over there. Johnny Warren, your thoughts on the changes?
Well, something had to be changed. There was really no penetration on either of the flanks. Chipperfield is on for that reason on the left. Maloney now switched to the right. And Lyons for New Zealand at the left fullback position has done a great job in keeping Lozanovsky quiet. It's now important that Maloney does exert some influence there if Australia are to start to look like getting back into this match.
Alvin Checkerley on the ball for the Socceroos. You just wonder what Raul Blanco said to the team at half-time, because there's an awful lot still to do in this game for Australia. Colosimo at the back. Exchanging headers with the New Zealand sweeper Danny Hay. Babbage forward down the line. Troy Halpin. Maloney playing it into the feet of Murray. Burton getting past a couple very nicely indeed. Upping it onto Lyons, who's in space down the left. Colosimo, who's made the step up from under 20 to Olympic team and now full Socceroos very comfortably indeed. He's involved in 3 of Australia's international sides at the moment. Simon Colosimo went to Blackburn Rovers earlier on in the year for a trial and is currently trying to get his Italian passport organised, so perhaps he is on his way to Europe in the near future. We shall see. Weirman winning the ball back for Australia. Raul Blanco animated in the first half. I'm sure he was like that at half-time, and he's continuing it in the second half. Les Scheinflug, his assistant, in the forefront of the screen there. Harry Nata on the ball for New Zealand, and it's an Australian throw. Maloney in that wide role on the Australian right flank now. It's an unfamiliar position very much for Brad Maloney, who's really made his name as a central midfielder, a goal-scoring central midfielder at that. Burton wide to Lyons. New Zealand again looking promising. Calls for handball against Babbage there, but it was clearly off the left-hand side of his chest. And Ken Dugdale and Mick Waite, his assistant, they know now that they have a great victory against Australia within their sights. First, they've got to try and contain Trimboli and co. As Trimboli loses out, but draws the foul. Trimboli's certainly a player that can get Australia back on level footing in the game. He, too, was fairly quiet in the first half. Halpin over the ball. Murray's in there, so is Jason Batty. Lyons picks the ball up for New Zealand. Stolen by Maloney. Certainly the urgency of the Socceroos seems a little bit more intense in this first 4 minutes of the second half. Jason Batty and Harry Nata, the striker, play for the Bohemians club in Ireland. They followed the former New Zealand coach Joe McGrath over to Ireland when he left the All Whites post. Joe McGrath was sacked just recently, and now Nata and Batty won't be too far behind him, apparently. Certainly, I know from talking to some of the New Zealand players yesterday that they appreciate being in the Australian shop window when they play in these internationals. Most of them, if they're not already playing for an Australian club, would like to. It's a great ball in. Awkward for the defence. Halpin there to tidy things up for Australia. Maloney chasing. Wilkinson can't keep the ball in for New Zealand. throw into Australia. Halpin on the ball, takes it quickly, finding Murray. Chipperfield, first touch since he's come on as substitute. Murray, always keen to run at his man, and got past Wilkinson. Positive play from Damien Murray. He is the sort of player, no matter what the circumstances, he doesn't change his game. He still is prepared to run at defenders and cause them problems. And Babbage and Tobin are making their way up to the back post. Australia have 6 men in the New Zealand penalty area as Casey Weirman shapes up to take the free kick. No one at the back post for Australia. We've seen that at quite a few occasions today, John, haven't we? Not just from open play, but from free kicks as well. Wasted opportunities.
It's been a real downer from the Australian point of view. The crossing and the set pieces have been very poor. You can point to pre-season and all that, but it really is no excuse. You just wonder how much change Australia are going to get out by A, playing in the air, and B, playing through the middle, because Hay, Douglas and Wilkinson have that area tied up on the ground and in the air. Australia has to play it wide, and really they just haven't got the wide players involved. And until they do so, you just sense that they're going to struggle in this match.
Chipperfield taking up the cause for Australia. Zoricic to take the throw, not in any particular hurry to get on with the game, as you would expect. Chipperfield touches inside. There's Checkerley. Again, Murray has a lot to do to get onto the ball. Wilkinson's under pressure. Pressure 12. Gave the ball straight to Casey Weirman. Murray turning away from Wilkinson, totally bamboozling the Kiwi defender. And you can hear the New Zealanders in the ground microphones urging each other on to better and better things. They can smell a victory here. Australia continue to try to snuff out the Kiwi enthusiasm. Maloney won the ball back well for Australia. Colosimo over the top to Tobin. He's got Checkerley outside him. Chipperfield with 2 men right behind him. Did well to just retain possession there. Scott Chipperfield. Babbage.
Good. Ready now. Early, Gavin, early.
Weirman lost out there. Burton, the danger man for New Zealand. Lyons is free on the left-hand side, and that's who he's picked out. Coveney's waiting in the centre. Good cross from Lyons. Weirman won it straight to Jackson. Babbage put his body very much on the line there to block the shot. New Zealand come again. Wilkinson. Well, no sign that the Kiwis are slowing down. And Maloney was tugged and fouled off the ball there quite clearly. The linesman didn't bother to put his flag up, and it was just off camera. Alvin Checkerley. Nowhere really for him to go, so he goes back to Alex Tobin. There's Babbage in a lot of space. Mark Babbage inside to Murray. Weirman's just inside him. There's no way through there for Damien Murray. Certainly, John, the tempo is picked up from Australia's perspective.
It has, but New Zealand's still going to make it very difficult. They're very well organised, and I think Australia tactically are playing into their hands. We mentioned that central trio of Hay, Douglas, Wilkinson, very, very strong in the air, whereas for Mori and Trimboli, it's not their game, is it, to win balls in the air, and Australia really not playing it correctly in that respect, but they're preventing the wide players getting forward with Zoricic on this right-hand side and Lyons on the other side. And you feel that Australia do need a change in their personnel, perhaps, particularly out of midfield, if they're to turn this game around, because with each passing minute now, New Zealand get the smell of an upset, what we'd consider an upset. And they're going to be more and more difficult as this time moves on to upset.
So Australia need a goal, and they need it quickly. On the bench for the Socceroos, Calvert, Chris Trajanowski, Buster Diamichis as potential offensive players that Raul Blanco could introduce into the game. Weirman, Murray leaves it for Trimboli, who lets it run. Plenty of New Zealanders back behind the ball. Here's Alvin Checkerley. Pass to the near post, will be easily cut out and just hoofed away as far as he possibly can by Danny Hay. Checkerley again. Trimboli. Weirman. Straight to Jackson. Weirman wins it back. Chipperfield. Trimboli. Halpin. Australia with plenty of the ball. Damien Murray's in there. Well, Murray and Wilkinson were wrestling in the area, and the free kick went against the Australian number 9. Halpin's ball was ballooned into the area, and both players were doing a bit of pushing and shoving.
It's another case, Paul, of the cross coming from the wrong position. I mean, Australia are not going to score goals with crosses from deep. They've got to get behind, turn the New Zealand defence, which, to New Zealand's credit, Australia have very seldom been able to do today. Once you turn them, of course, the delivery of the ball from the flank can come along the ground, which is the game for Trimboli and Murray to convert, not balls played out of midfield high, where Wilkinson and Douglas, Hay and company are just going to eat those up all day.
And the ball breaking now for Maloney. The roar goes up from the fans on the far side of the ground, but it was a fine tackle that by Chris Jackson. Coveney. Plenty of New Zealanders forward. Here's Burton again. And a great saving tackle that by Colosimo. It had to be timed to perfection, and it was. Murray now. Touched on for Weirman. Trimboli's in free out wide on the right, and Murray's gone through the centre. Still plenty of work to do. Damien Murray curling it! Well, superb try that from Damien Murray. He had 3 defenders between him and the goal. There was no point in trying to take them on, so he went for placement. A clever idea. Batty was beaten, but the ball went past the outside of the post. And a rare moment for Damien Murray in the match without Gavin Wilkinson right next to him. Well, Australia have a man absolutely stationary on the ground. Looks like Alex Tobin, perhaps. He hasn't moved since he went down in that challenge. Yes, it is Tobin, and the stretcher comes on immediately. And cover at the back for Australia is in the form of Glenn Gwynn. And Dominic Longo, perhaps another possibility for Raul Blanco, but Tobin is knocked out. He's out cold. Well, that's just what Australia don't need to lose their most experienced player at a time like this.
And not only that, I mean, it does restrict to only one more change after that, doesn't it? They've already made one. If Alex has to be replaced, it's not the position you'd be looking at to replace someone at the back. You'd be looking more out of midfield or up front.
Well, perhaps Raul Blanco, Chris Trajanowski in the shot there, looking to go man-on-man at the back, perhaps, just to get an extra attacking player on. Alex Tobin, the Australian captain, the all-time leading Socceroo for appearances. His 84th appearance for his country in A internationals has been stretched off. It's highly unlikely he'll take any further part in the game. And the change will be made. And it's the number 15, Dominic Longo, the Marconi man, who comes on at a very crucial time. And you suspect, John, that Chris Trajanowski was about to come on for somebody else, but
yes,
it was a change.
It is a big blow, apart from the injury, of course, to Alex, but tactically to Australia, a big blow. It's now restricted their options to just one more change. And as we mentioned, that change wouldn't have been at the back. It would have been out of midfield or someone up front.
Coveney turning away, playing across. Nata can't get there. There's Damien Murray touching it onto Trimboli. Back to Murray. Surging run, thundering down at the New Zealand defence. But he showed far too much of the ball to Danny Hay. And Lyons takes up the cause for New Zealand. It's a good contest, certainly wide open. Certainly both teams now have got the bit between the mouth. 62.5 minutes gone, so Australia are feeling the pinch even more and more as every second ticks over. Jackson for New Zealand. Nata playing on. Trimboli can't get to the ball unless he can keep this one in, which he can't. Well stopped by Babbage. And a good pass as well to Wim, and New Zealand have plenty of men behind the ball. Australia don't have too many men for Damien Murray to pass it to, and Murray and Wilkinson standing toe-to-toe for the moment. Play goes on. Sheckley's forward. Chipperfield's in the area. The cross needs to be a good one. It's a fine switch ball there from Zoricic to Burton, of all people, free on the left-hand side. Burton taking on Babbage. Here's Lyons, in no hurry to join in. Nata, and that will be an Australian ball. And Chris Trajanowski, it looks like, about to come on in place of Troy Halpin. That is the final roll of the dice for Raul Blanco. There's no Australian captain on the park. And Chris Trajanowski, very much a different style of player than Troy Halpin, who is a playmaker in the true sense of the word. Colosimo forward, past a couple. Sheckley free on the left. Colosimo again. Great play by the youngster. Still Simon Colosimo going all the way himself, perhaps. Still Colosimo! Brilliant save by Jason Batty, but Simon Colosimo's weaving run was absolutely outstanding. More of what Australia needs. Murray touches off to Trimboli. Lines free for New Zealand, and it was a run that was very similar to the outstanding goal of the NSL last season, which Simon Colosimo scored when he took the ball from his own penalty area and slalomed his way through a number of players before finishing off a great goal, and he almost did it again there.
And he's going to have to do it a lot more. He's have to inject himself into the attack. I mean, the clock is starting to wind down now for Australia. The free man at the back has to be dispensed with whenever possible. Colosimo, the ideal player to come forward, as we just saw there. And he's going to have to do it a lot more as this match starts to wind down. Interesting, Trajanovski up front, dropping Trimboli into midfield. A good move, I believe. I feel Trimboli more effective there. Able to create, able to use his vision. And our midfield certainly needs that at this stage.
Well, the news on Alex Tobin is that he's still unconscious in the heart of the Suncorp Stadium. Not good for the Australian captain. Damien Murray and Chris Trajanovski leading the way in attack now for the Socceroos. They need something, and they need it quickly. 21 minutes gone in the second half. New Zealand 1, Australia 0. Longo, a bad mistake. Maloney keeps the ball in. Trimboli, Weirman. Certainly Australia prepared to play out from all positions, and it's great play by the Socceroos as well as Weirman comes forward. Still Weirman on. Well, he's so hungry, Casey Weirman. Such a tenacious young man. With a good sense of vision as well, because that's a fine ball to Checkerley. That's the earlier moment when Weirman was outnumbered, but he still managed to wrestle his way back into the picture there and won the free kick. Checkerley for Australia. Zoricic. A long one for Coveney, who should have the legs on Mark Babbage. And Burton's joining in very quickly forward for New Zealand. Here's Burton again. Still Burton. Takes the shot. Petkovic saves. Jackson. Well, Dominic Longo got the ball away finally for the Socceroos there with that vital tackle, but Jackson could have finished the game in New Zealand's favour. Burton joined in the attack at the right time. Petkovic pushed the ball away. Jackson just couldn't get the ball down quick enough, and Longo did well not to foul him in that situation. Quick throw. Trimboli free on the right. Checkerley now. 20 of Australians forward in front of him. In fact, 5 Socceroos in front of Alvin Checkerley. Trimboli, Chipperfield, Checkerley. They're queuing up at the back post. That's where the cross goes. But it's an easy one for Wilkinson.
Watch the ball, watch the ball. Walk out, walk out.
Trajanovski now. Well, he's lost out. And Coveney's won the ball, but not for long, because Colosimo's there. Well, the youngster trying to get on with the game quickly, and rightly so, and Coveney expectedly trying to slow the game down. Checkerley, will he keep the ball in? He does. Oh, Chipperfield did well to steal it, pulled it across, great ball in, Murray at the near post. Very difficult one for Damien Murray, that, and he has to readjust his contact lenses by the look of things.
But it's the type of position Australia have to get into as Chipperfield there to get it in old-fashioned terms to the byline and cut it back, and Australia will cause problems then. And sadly in the match so far for them, they just haven't been able to do it. But the Chipperfield Checkerley combination on this side, particularly being club mates, are starting to get a few things happening, and it is the way back for Australia.
The more that time ticks on, the more tension that creeps into the game. Australia's desperation as they try to get back into the game. It was just a little handball there from Casey Weirman. It was very subtle, but not subtle enough to fool the referee from Tahiti. Australia getting just a little bit more desperate, and New Zealand hungrier than ever now that they can provide a winning result here. Checkerley long for Murray, but easy for Wilkinson. Chipperfield touched on to Weirman. Fine switch from him to Trajanovski. Takes the shot. Well, it was certainly a goal-scoring opportunity created by the long ball there of Casey Weirman. And Trajanovski went for goal, but still not really testing the goalkeeper. But the vision of Weirman was outstanding, not for the first time in a game. Around 18 minutes left here at Suncorp. If you've just joined us, Australia are a goal behind, thanks to the New Zealand number 7, Mark Burton, who was fouled there by Paul Trimboli. Nata touching it on. Colosimo is there. Weirman in space. Picking up Trimboli, who's shaken off his man. Perhaps New Zealand just starting to tire a fraction. Trimboli again. Got Checkerley outside him. Murray, Trimboli. And Chris Trajanovski is very much an attack-minded player, and he's been getting into some good forward position since he's come on as a substitute. The heat factor has disappeared from the game. As you can see, the shadow is right across the entire Suncorp Stadium now. I just wonder about the fitness factor coming into play as we move into the final quarter of an hour or so. Australia distinctly slowed down in the matches against Fiji and against Tahiti. New Zealand felt that this was the stage of the game where they could really provide some damage. Murray, still Murray, into the area, Damien Murray. Hay is there, and it's a corner to Australia. Wilkinson and Murray, that's been just a great battle. Two fiercely competitive players. So far, Wilkinson with the honours, but Murray starting to come more into his own. There's a great old-fashioned shoulder charge. Murray was braced up and ready and waiting for it. There's no Alex Tobin forward for Australia, but Dominic Longo is there instead, but it was to the near post. Deep ball in, Trajanovski waiting at the back post, but it won't reach him. Colosimo. This ball, well, it fell for Maloney, but the flag's up for offside. Under a quarter of an hour left. A $1.3 million payday that Australia were hoping for is looking very much at risk here. Did so well there. No room at all to operate, but he came away with the ball. Oh, that's a nice bit of work from Jackson. Longo can't get to the ball in front of Nata. Burton again. Kochanovsky chasing the ball down. Batty very calm indeed, considering the circumstances. Now, is that a yellow card offence? And it is, according to the referee. Sean Douglas, the man to get the card. He's the fourth Kiwi of the day to be given the yellow card. Longo forward. Babbage forward. Weirman takes it. Murray's there. Good punch by Batty. Sheckley can't get there. Chipperfield now. New Zealand push up. Colosimo on the ball. Plenty of room for him to move into, which he does, and it's a nicely guided ball out to Weirman on the right-hand side. Danny Hay at the near post for New Zealand. Trimboli now in space, dropping even deeper to get more involved. Chipperfield trying to block the tackle. The ball breaks free for Aaron Lyons, who takes all the time that he has. Just nudges it inside to Jackson. He's been robbed by Chipperfield. Trimboli in there, Chipperfield in there, two Kiwis in there. Well, it's just a toe-to-toe battle now, John, isn't it, really?
Yes, Colosimo's got to be thrown. They've got to dispense with the free man at the back. Colosimo has to inject himself more and more into the attacks, and we've been saying it all day, but the attacks have to come from wide like this. You have a much better chance. We've been unable to get in those positions, but it's essential now that they do play it wide, and Colosimo coming through, abandon the spare man at the back. 12 minutes to go or so, and this will be a very bad result for Australia in more ways than one. Financially, the experience, and of course to lose out to New Zealand. But New Zealand now, with the changes, they will be quite happy to sit behind the ball. They've been well organised all day. They've made life difficult for Australia. Just get the ball, hit it long, and use up the clock.
Well, Shea Buds is coming on for the Kiwis. Defender. He's an out-and-out defender.
For a forward, yeah.
For Harry Nata, the attacker. Not a surprising tactic, but it will mean that there's an extra body to get past for the New Zealand attackers. Shea Bunce actually plays his football in Iceland for a club there called Breiðablik in Reykjavik. I wonder how a New Zealander could find his way to Iceland, but as a semi-professional footballer there, who was playing with an Icelandic import for his club in New Zealand. And he was requested to go and play over there, which he grabbed with both hands. News from the dressing room is that Alex Tobin has recovered and he's okay, as Colosimo collided into Aaron Lyons, and the New Zealand number 8 may not be quite so healthy at the moment. just on 10 minutes to go here at Suncorp. There is the Australian captain come out to just watch the fight a few minutes. Colosimo was the player to get the yellow card. That challenge on lines. The cards don't matter at all for Australia at the moment. It's goals that they need. Just one would send the game into extra time. Kiwi bench intent. As Harry Nata takes his gear off, he's done a hard-working job tonight for the New Zealand side. Colosimo. And we're really for him to go high and through the centre. Chipperfield trying to pick up a loose ball, but there's so many white shirts around the loose ball there compared to yellow ones. Jackson. Colosimo fouled there by Vaughan Coverty. Eight and a half minutes remaining for the Socceroos. It's a dangerous ball. Maloney won't get there though. Well, Lyons hit Maloney off the ball there. It was a blatant shove to the ground by Aaron Lyons. The referee didn't seem to see it. Maloney was trying to get to the ball, it was shielded, and just watch this. Well, it was perhaps not as bad as I first thought, but still unacceptable. Considering that Lyons is already on a yellow card, that would have surely have taken him over the edge. And here he is going down the line instead. Weirman lets it run. Players to his left. One of them is Chipperfield. Here's Trajanowski. Colosimo. Trimboli. It's a thoughtful pass from Jason Batty, considering the circumstances. Just calmly played it out wide there to Lyons, and Burton, who's still got some fuel in that engine of his. Damien Murray, the man who has scored 10 times in the last 3 games. Is very much the man for Australia if they're to come back into this game, and they haven't got long to do that. Shekeli calling for support. Weirman, the man to provide it. Colosimo trying to get forward from the back, but that wasn't a ball. That was a good one for Trimboli, and Coveney's prepared to chase anything at this stage, and he's won the throw-in. Ken Dugdale said yesterday to me when I spoke to him that he really did quite fancy his team's chances here today. Wasn't overawed. It certainly felt that for the first time in a long time the gap between the two teams was fairly narrow. Weirman, still hope for Australia. Longo, Checkerley. Longo again. Weirman very much needed to provide some inspiration. Trajanowski. Now Bunce, a fresh pair of legs at the back, perhaps to take over the role on Damien Murray. Gavin Wilkinson just tiring of it for the moment. Longo. Hard to see where it's going to come from, John, isn't it?
Well, it hasn't looked like coming all game with due respect to the Socceroos. It hasn't. It's been a long afternoon. New Zealand, from the opening seconds, indicated they're going to make life tough. They have been, for me anyhow, better in all respects than Australia. They played a smarter game. That man there, number 7, for me, Burton, has been the player of the match. Australia picked up the tempo second half, but the method hasn't been there. Maybe we're talking too early. They can pick it back and send it into extra time, but on what we've seen so far, New Zealand deserve to win this match.
Trajanowski forward. Australia needs something very quickly. No one there for the Socceroos. Weirman picks up the ball. Checkerley's outside and Weirman takes the shot. Well, he has had a fine match, Casey Weirman. One positive to come out of the game is his performance. New Zealand now, who have sat back for so much of this half, have got men free on the left-hand side in Aaron Lyons. Running at his man, still Lyons. Trimboli's still got the guile. Chipperfield now for Australia. Chipperfield again. Less than 2.5 minutes to go. New Zealand 1, Australia 0. Colosimo, long ball. It's a good one if Trajanowski can get there, which he can't. And Raul Blanco is calling for everything from his players, urging them forward, urging them on. It's a young side that Australia have got out there, very experienced in only a couple of departments. Players like Checkerley and Weirman and Colosimo have been in this situation before in their lives. Brave header by Longo. Australian free kick. There's still time. Checkerley on the ball. Weirman. Murray with Wilkinson right behind him. Murray turning away. Awkward for Petkovic, but he came out with the header. Colosimo did so well to win the ball. A rousing cry from the fans on the far side of the ground. There's still time for something. Casey Weirman. Trimboli takes over, goes past a couple. 3 men on the left-hand side is Alvin Checkerley. He's got Chipperfield outside him. First time cross, it's a deep one. Maloney can't get there. New Zealand stand firm at the back. Well, we're just a few seconds away from the 90-minute mark, and then it's up to the referee's discretion for time added on. Well, in France 98, we saw so many goals scored in the last minute or into injury time, so it's too soon to write off Australia just yet. Maloney, Weirman. From Murray's feet, bit of wrestling going on there, but nothing for the Australians. And that's a New Zealand throw. Change for the All Whites. Number 15, Ivan Vislic, who's another centre-back. He's coming on. And Sean Douglas, the Carlton player, is making way. So it's a straight swap at the back for New Zealand, just a fresh pair of legs and a chance to use up perhaps a few seconds. A good nudge inside that by Burton to find Coveney. Now, Chekali. Trajanovski lets it run. Into the area, Trajanovski's gone down! No penalty! Well, he's called it as a dive. And that, you feel, was Australia's last chance. Johnny, I'll let you call it. To me, that was a penalty.
It was a penalty, yes.
Yeah. Trajanovski touched off, bunts away, hacked up the field. Almost 2 minutes into time added on. Chipperfield now. Well, here's another look. Trajanovski, there was no contact on the ball there by Wilkinson. And the linesman is right there and didn't call it.
And then to be accused of diving, well, that's a double hurt, isn't it? But I felt it was a penalty. The referee, perhaps the wrong angle. We had the benefit of the replay there, but certainly no contact by the defender with the ball.
New Zealand have recorded a tremendous victory here at Suncorp. One of the most financial victories as well, with $1.3 million going into the coffers of the New Zealand Football Association after this game. They came into the game with a plan. They played superbly, and it was a solitary goal by Mark Burton in the first half, which has seen them upset the Socceroos here. And just look at the delight on the faces of the Kiwi boys.
And deservedly so, Paul, too. Deservedly so. From the opening minute, this was New Zealand's game. I felt that 1-0 is an adequate scoreline for the way they played. The Socceroos disappointing, short pre-season, but that doesn't count. You can point to the penalty as well. It's not going to count come tomorrow. But overall, for me, New Zealand deserved to win against a very disjointed and very rusty Australian side.
Well, disappointment for the Socceroos and for Soccer Australia as well, who had banked on literally the financial windfall from the tournament. That's not to be the case. It's back to the drawing board very much for Raul Blanco and his side, because the final score here at Suncorp is Australia 0, New Zealand 1. We'll take a short break and be back soon with Kyle Patterson.
Welcome back to Brisbane and our coverage of the Oceania Nations Cup final. If you have just joined us, you've missed an afternoon of absolute drama and heartache for Australian soccer fans. The final score here at Suncorp Stadium, New Zealand 1, Australia 0. That means New Zealand are the champions of Oceania. They also go to represent us, the region, at the Confederations Cup in Mexico in January next year. And they are $1.3 million Australian better off than we are right now. Andy Harper, if there was a Cruelty to Soccer Fans Association after the MCG and Iran, This is absolute cruelty for all lovers of Australian soccer.
Well, except possibly we deserved a result at the MCG against Iran than tonight. Not that we were out of it by any means. But New Zealand really lifted for the occasion. I thought they were excellent tonight. They really had some champion performers. Coveney up front, Lyons, Burton and Jackson across the midfield were superb. Yep. And at the back, Damien Murray in the second half had shackles all over him. And Gavin Wilkinson, Danny Hay did excellent jobs back there. And the Kiwis can be well proud of their achievement. As you said, they're 1.3 million better off than us. It's a big hole in our bank balance locally, and it's a real blow.
We never seem to lift the tempo up to the required level for us to play the superior football that we still believe those individual players are superior in skill, but tactically today we had to take second place to the All Whites.
Yeah, Raul Blanco, the coach, obviously knows the Australian team's business better than us, but moving Brad Maloney to a wide right position, to me, kills the effectiveness of Brad Maloney. He was the most effective midfielder last year because he broke from the central positions and got on the end of crosses and scored a heap of goals. And he's not a natural wide player, and he toiled manfully out there, but you've got Robert Trajkovski on the sideline who does that position every week for his club and does it very well. So that blew my mind a little bit. But as I said, Raul knows his business better than I. I thought they did manage to step up a gear in the second half, but the Kiwis reminded me of Norway towards the end of that second half. It was half a man up front, if you like, and they had 5 and 6 central defenders blocking the spaces, and they did it very, very well. And I'm not sure if we'll get to see it, but a very dubious non-penalty decision against Chris Trajanowski late in the second half.
Yes, that one, Andy. Look, stay with us, Andy Harper. Thanks for that wrap-up, because the Australian coach, Raul Blanco, has declined to comment at this point, and he has said the players are unable to make any comment. That's a shame, but we'll try and chase them and convince them to change their mind and let us know how they're feeling. Right now, though, I'd like to welcome to our coverage the winning coach from New Zealand, Ken Dugdale. Please, Ken, join us. Well,
thanks, Coach.
It's hard coming from Australia, but congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Now, it's 17 years since the All Whites have beaten Australia on Aussie soil, so you've written your own place in history, and I know you were telling people before this game you had a good feeling about your team's chances.
Yeah, I thought that we would compete, and I thought we did that very well. I thought we created 1 or 2 chances that we could have done better with, and took our goal very well.
Now, you set a trap for the Australians by getting a lot of people behind the ball and killing the tempo, so you would play at your tempo, but you must have been thinking at half-time, can we defend this well for another 45?
Well, I mean, the object of the exercise second half was not to defend, it was to go at the Australian defence again. We thought we'd get a lot of mileage out of the right-back situation with the pace of Lyons and the pace of Coveney. And that proved to be the case at times, but I mean, it's like everything else. Australia came at us, and with the need to get a goal to stay in the game, they actually put a lot of pressure on, and we had to defend in the end.
You did very well in keeping the ball, though, because you have said in the lead up to this series that you want New Zealand to play international football, keeping the ball, playing a passing game, and today there was proof in the pudding, so congratulations there. That sort of transition doesn't happen overnight, but it looks like you've made a very good start.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll continue in that vein. I mean, we enjoy playing this way. I think we should have played this way years ago, and it's been in part vindicated today.
Now, $1.3 million Australian, a bit more in New Zealand dollars, to take home. You'll be a hero among the Federation officials.
I'd be more of a hero at home if I was getting some money, I'll tell you.
Well, listen, we'll let you go and join the presentation and get your hands on that cup. Congratulations, Ken Dugdale, and to your All Whites. You've made it a very black day for Australian soccer, but an all-white, brilliant day for New Zealand soccer.
Thanks very much, Carl. Cheers.
Okay, that's Ken Dugdale, the victorious coach of the All Whites, Andy. And as we were saying, 17 years since, as the presentation is made behind us, the Socceroos will collect their runners-up medals, but 17 years since a black day at the SCG in a World Cup game when the Socceroos went down to the All Whites on Australian soil. So Suncorp joins the SCG as the Hall of Shame.
Yes. Well, I mean, it has to happen. You can't beat teams for time immemorial. That's what sport's all about. If it was always going to be a lay-down misère, there'd be no point in the contest. So every now and again, the underdog will rise and strike the serpent's heel. Wow.
Okay, Andy, we'll just take some pictures now from the presentation. Charlie Dempsey, the President of the Oceanic Confederation, who happens to be a Kiwi, so he won't mind at all this upset result today, making a few comments. We'll just wait until, stay with us until the Australians go up to collect their runners-up medal. Andy, the thing which impressed me today about the New Zealanders is that they'd done their homework and they really did shut Australia down out wide. As you say, Lozanovsky dragged at half-time because he was ineffective. Chipperfield went on to renew his club partnership with Checkerley, but they didn't quite get the magic going. As you pointed out, Maloney having to be sacrificed out wide. We didn't get the action happening down the flank, did we?
No, we didn't. And like we said, we don't know, what was going on in the camp, who was ill, who was injured, who was not in form, because we weren't privy to those sorts of pieces of information. But certainly, when you look at it on paper, we had Carl Veert unused on the bench, and when you're chasing a goal, perhaps Carl might have provided a bit of penetration in an attacking midfield or an attacking role that might have done us some good. But I don't think it's disastrous by any means. There were some very constructive passages of play. The boys are obviously playing to a keen pattern that Raul has been insisting on, and I don't think that was the problem today. It was just one of those things when certain players and individuals are off their game, and that happens in football.
We're taking some pictures here of obviously the disconsolate Australian team. Not only have those guys lost a Confederation Championship today because we were the reigning champions, Australia, they have missed out on a bonanza because we understand that the prize money would have been 40% to the players, 60% to the Federation. So 40% of $1.3 million, these guys are going to be weeping tonight about the bonuses missed. But I'm sure for them, they're professional footballers. The money isn't what's important now. It's professional pride. A guy there, Simon Colosimo, in shot, he certainly gave his all. Casey Wimmer, probably Australia's best. Maybe it was some of the more experienced guys who maybe found today were not wanting in the sense of ability, but just didn't rise to the occasion.
Well, it got very congested around the centre of the field, and we couldn't exploit the spaces on the wings, and we've talked about that before. But Trimmers did his business.
Andy, let me just interrupt there. That's Peter Velapan, the president of the Asian Football Association, presenting to Paul Trimboli trophy as a runner-up, I assume. I don't miss that. I don't think Trimmers was man of the match. I might seek some information on that, but it looks as though Trimmers collecting the runners-up trophy. And as we say, an incredible scene here at Suncorp. Less than 1,000 people watching this, but it was a dramatic afternoon of football.
Well, apart from being avidly Australian, I was hoping so much for the goal so we could get some extra football, because I was really absorbed with that second half. It was a great contest. The Kiwis were magnificent, and we really had them pinned down. They were trying to catch us on the break, but we did certainly have them pinned down for long periods, and if we could just have released a couple of wide players for a couple of decent crosses, who knows, the result could have all been different.
Andy, we'll just take these pictures of the presentation. Obviously, runners-up medals to the Australian players. That's Paul Trimboli, Casey Wimmer, who did give everything and was a big crowd favourite here.
Good to see Casey back too, Carl, isn't
it? Yeah, after a long injury, Casey Wimmer, Alvin Checkerley, Jason Petkovic, and these medals may not quite take pride of place in the collections of these individual players. They did well to get to the final, but unfortunately the imbalance in Oceania demands that we are so far ahead, we believe, technically, and infrastructure ahead of these other teams, that defeat is almost unthinkable. Today we have to get used to the reality.
Well, maybe the imbalance isn't so great now. Certainly, we would expect anyway, if our overseas-based players were summoned for this tournament, then the result would have been different. But that's not to take anything away from our locally based players, because I think they were excellent tonight. This afternoon, they really played as well as they could under the circumstances. And they were up against a New Zealand side which was made up of Ericsson Cup players as well. So the ledger was certainly balanced there. And there's no disgrace in losing to a Kiwi side that was very well organised and lifted, certainly, for the occasion.
As I say, the presentation's continuing. And in case you have just joined us, there's a busy afternoon of sport right around the nation. This is the SBS live coverage of the Oceania Nations Cup final from Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. And sadly, the news is that New Zealand, sadly for Australian soccer I should say, there's plenty of New Zealand fans out there, but sadly Australia has gone down 1-0 to the All Whites, as we are just waiting for the presentations. This is the All Whites captain, Jason Batty, the goalkeeper. A clean sheet today. That's his first against Australia. He's had days where he's picked the ball out of the net 2 and 3 times. In fact, in the World Cup, that was the score, aggregate 5-0 for Australia over the All Whites, Andy. So a proud moment for Jason Batty.
A very proud moment. He did very well too. He marshalled his defence. Look, a defence oftentimes is only as good as the goalkeeper behind them, and the confidence with which he plays exudes across the back line, and that was certainly in evidence tonight.
So we see players going through. Aaron Lyons, that's Gavin Wilkinson getting his medal. Danny Hay, a hero in the back for New Zealand. Chris Jackson, for mine, incredible game, because this is a guy who played in Australian club football and didn't really shine, but today he quite possibly was the best midfielder for 90 minutes on the park.
Well, magnificent. And he had a couple of very close associates there. Chris Orisic, one of the local Brisbane players, did very well and certainly bottled up the left-hand side of the Australian offence.
Mark Atkinson, the captain of Carlton, obviously big Australian influence in this sense that many of the Kiwi players are playing their football here in Australia.
A great moment for Ivan Visilic, the number 15 there, who was called home from camp due to a death in the family. And I'm sure he'll be dedicating no small part of this magnificent triumph for him individually and his team to that particular bereavement.
So there's the all-white players, Rupert Ryan, Paul Erlovich, the reserve keeper, taking a medal, and that's Basil Scarcella, the chairman, the newly elected chairman of Australian Soccer, and also chairman of the Soccer Australia Finance Committee, so he will at the moment be feeling this loss more than most.
He certainly will. He certainly will. We could have, as New Zealand will testify, they're in the same boat. We could certainly have used the cash that would have come with success today, but a great moment for the New Zealand players. A number of their families, I notice, have made the trip across the Tasman for the final. Like Chris Orisic's mum, dad and wife are here, very excited. Shea Bunce is actually playing in Iceland, has got family here to see him. Obviously they don't get to see him too often, so these are great moments for the New Zealand boys and ones which I'm sure they will treasure.
Yeah. Okay, Andy, well, we have a final score here. We will wrap up our coverage of this Oceania Nations Cup as we take the pictures of New Zealand finally getting their hands on the trophy. There's Charlie Dempsey, as I say, the president of Oceania, and there is the Oceania Nations Cup presented to Jason Batty, the New Zealand captain. They are the champions of Oceania. They will now go to Mexico to play in the prestigious FIFA Confederations Cup as the representative of Oceania, playing against Brazil, France, among others. They are in a stellar category now.
Yes.
And as we will leave the New Zealand team to begin their celebrations, a long night of celebrations, Andy Harper, thank you very much for your input today.
Thanks for having me.
On what has been a day of drama, a day of very great heartache for Australian soccer. But Andy, thanks for your input.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that's about all from Suncorp Stadium. Don't forget Toyota World Sports coming up at 7 p.m. tonight. All the day's sports news, plus some more from this dramatic day at Suncorp Stadium. On behalf of all the team, I'm Kyle Patterson, wishing you good evening from Suncorp. Good night.